Hi, I'm Glenn.
I'm Kendall.
And this is Vance. He's going to be our home on wheels for the next year and a half as we get to see all the sights Australia has to offer. Vance is our 1982 Volkswagen T3. When we first got him, his insides were pretty gross, so we decided to completely gut him and do our own self-conversion to sustain life on the road. Come take a look.
So this is our rear-facing bench seat, which is where our kitchenette and extra pantry storage lives. We knew that because Vance is a little bit on the smaller side that we wanted to cook outdoors to optimize all the space that we could in the kitchen. And in order to keep it in place while we're driving, we fastened on these leather straps. Just take those off like that. Tuck those under. And then just start pulling it out. We also made a little end table for our kitchenette that we stored just under here. Latch it on there, so that way we just have a little extra storage when we're making food. So this acts as our pantry, where we store everything like pasta, rice, spices, and sauces. But it also acts as a storage for our stove. So you just pull the gas line out like that, pull this out, and put it on here like so, match it, and you have your cooking station. We really didn't want to keep moving the gas tank around all the time, so we have this hose that then runs all the way through there, and then the gas tank sits under our sink permanently. So within the rear-facing bench seat, we put in a little bit more storage, which is where we have little things like our shower, our coffee percolator, and just random little knickknacks that need a place to go.
Now stepping inside, we've first of all got our bench top, which is probably one of my favorite pieces of the build. I'm super happy with how it turned out. Really nice finish and ties everything together very well. The sink here is probably one of the only original things we kept from the old build. It was totally fine, perfect size. Straight into just a hand pump. Again, that's original as well. Goes straight out the bottom and just dumps out into our grey water. In the cabinet under the sink, as we said before, we've got our gas cylinder. We also have our electrics there as well, with a 600 watt inverter, 12 volt, 100 amp hour battery that then ends up feeding both a 12 volt system, and also along here we've also got two power points that are at 240 volts as well. So we get household power as well as our normal 12 volt. Our fridge setup is a Bushman fridge, 60 litre. We originally had a different fridge in here. It was a 3-way fridge, but this might sound silly to some of you, but I didn't realize actually how much power that used when you were running it off a 12 volt system. So within the first week we realized we couldn't even really keep a charge because our fridge was just taking so much energy. Because of that, we ended up having to get a new fridge, which costs a fair bit of money, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So we went with the Bushman because it has to be an upright one, not your standard one, because we obviously built the whole fit out to be a front open, and the standard traditional 12 volt ones that pull out just don't really work for this tiny setup. So we had to end up getting it, but we're pretty happy so far with how it's performing, and definitely less energy used than our old one. Thankfully for us, Vance was already fitted with a pop top, so it means even for me, someone standing at about 6 foot can still completely stand up here without hitting my head, which is awesome because I feel like my back and neck would be in pieces. Up here is also where we store our chairs. It was one thing we had a really difficult time finding storage for. In a van this small, there's not really many places to fit something this small, but we didn't want to have those weird sort of vibrant colored camp chairs. We just wanted some plain timber ones. So I've just got some pretty standard tie downs, got our handles for the pop top, and we just put in some eyelet loops and be able to just tie in between them. So far they've held really nicely, easy to put in, take out, and that way we still have chairs, otherwise it'd be pretty screwed.
This is our one and only drawer in Vance. We just have it latched on here, and it holds all of our kitchen cutlery and utensils. And just next to it is where we have all of our kitchen storage, so our pots and pans, cutting boards, and then our plates, coffee cups, coffee mugs, and glassware. This is my favorite little corner of Vance because it feels so homey. We have our little wicker fruit basket, a handmade ceramic vase, and this beautiful artwork by Karina Jambrak, which I hope I pronounced correctly. We have everything here permanently placed with blue tack, which has worked so well. I was really afraid that any roundabout or turn that we took that this heavy base would just fall over, but they've stayed in place perfectly. So it's a really good tip if you're trying to have anything on a counter space or just keep anything in place. Just put some blue tack on, whack it on, and then you're good.
Being a small van, we knew we needed extra storage, which is why we ended up building this extra sort of foot locker. Now, once the bed's out, you'll see that it gets all the way to the edge of the bed, so it's not in the way. But even in a seating position, it still works pretty well and your legs clear of it. But this manages to store a lot of big stuff that we have trouble with finding anywhere else. It's a tight fit, but we end up just having these handles to pull it out this way. If we need anything, whack them in here for any extra storage we have. Things like umbrellas, shoes, bits and bobs, tables, stuff like that. We really just, there's nowhere else to put it. This big guy has been a saviour, that's for sure. Cool thing is as well, we just need to lift it out. So if ever we need extra space or even just like an extra little bench seat, I made sure that it's strong enough to be able to support weight. So this ends up being able to be a 2 or 3 person seater. Just for a bit extra storage, a bit extra bench seat. If we need extra space, we got it. So just a quick little tip that we stumbled across by accident. We were looking for flooring and we weren't really sure whether to go for lino. We knew we didn't want carpet. We really wanted timber, but it's very expensive. Now these are proper interlocking timber, super light, very strong, proper resilient and easy to clean. We went into a flooring place and asked if we could, what the per square meter cost was. We were probably gonna have to order it in. It was stupidly expensive. When we told him we basically needed a meter square, he just told us we could look out the back for any offcuts or any leftover things from projects they'd had. And we managed to just find these 6 panels that were perfect, and he gave it to us for like $10. So we were super fortunate for that. I definitely recommend it. There's always going to be leftover from projects that they have. So just tell them it's for such a tiny space and hopefully you'll get looked after. It worked for us. So this is the original mechanism that we had for the rock and roll bench seat. Replaced the foam obviously because it was pretty grotty, and thankfully my mum is an awesome sewer, so she reupholstered everything, both these pieces of foam, the one I'm sitting on here, and also all the curtains. So thank you so much, Mum, absolute lifesaver. Normally when we used to take this on weekends, we'd have this seat up quite regularly, but now that we're living in it, we normally don't have the seat up just because there's no point in going back and forth from a bed to a seat. So to make the seat into a bed is the same way that we also reveal a little bit of extra storage as well. So just by pulling this guy here and lifting up, we've just got a bit of extra storage under here for things that it's quite hard to get to. So things that we don't use as regularly and that are a little bit more bulky. So I've got a couple of skateboards down there, some climbing shoes, some snorkel gear, stuff like that we want to bring with us, but not using super regularly on a daily basis. Then from here, pull the couch out, and then you've got yourself a bed. We just need to then make it, put our mattress topper on top, and we're good to go.
This is our overhead compartment, which is where we store a lot of our toiletries as well as just some extra little camera charging gear. And just above it, when we have our pop top up, we can access a bit more storage, which is where we'll keep our awning and then some jackets that we don't really access too much, but we can if we really need to. And then when we have the pop top up at night, we can just throw extra things up there. Over here we have our closet. We have a bit of storage up the top for some easy access things, as well as some hooks, which is where we store our hats. Take the hat off, slide the door open, and we have our main closet shelves. So we do recommend having little packing cubes. We got ours from Kathmandu, but I know that they're available from a lot of different stores. Those have been amazing, so we just pull out our own individual sections and then we have access to everything that we need. And then we just have our folded clothes, some shower items. It actually goes way deeper than you think, which is really nice because I was a little nervous that I wouldn't have any room for any of my clothes, but I've been very pleasantly surprised with it, how much storage that we actually have. And then coming over to the other side is where we have anything that we want to hang, or that I want to hang because I take over the majority of this side. This is where I'll store all of my dresses, and down below is where we also have our laundry bag for our dirty clothes.
In the back here, a lot of the T3s have this with the slant of the trunk and everything. It just means that you can't really use a whole lot of space here. So a lot of them are actually empty, or they'll have this little shelf and kind of an ugly open space here. So we just wanted to close it up so that we could fit a bit more in there, but also not just have this weird empty void. So I just whacked one on a set of hinges, magnet at the top, And also just made it a bit of a drop leaf table. So if ever we want to place anything, if we need to, we can. Just got a couple of things for our film camera and any extra little bits and bobs. Half of a first aid kit as well in there. Magnet at the top. Done. Perfectly fitting, making the most of every little inch we have in this little van. This is where I spend a lot of my time, as I'm sure you can imagine. Compared to a lot of the other modern vans, this has a lot less going on the dash, that's for sure. So, first of all, this doesn't work. So we end up having to put in we've just got a little JBL speaker that's lasted us really, really well here that just sits in the front of this little cavity we've got from Kmart. A couple of bucks, screwed it to the front. Perfect. The dash itself has basically nothing. There's no air conditioning, the air vents don't work, nothing really works other than the speedo, the fuel gauge, and the park brake. We have another dial here to the right that doesn't do anything, that I imagine should be the tachometer, but it doesn't exist. So that's a 1982 van for you. Center console is one of the best things I think we put in. Not only is it a nice finish that matches the counter in the back, but it's also huge, which again, we need every bit of space we can possibly get. So here's where we get a lot of our daily readily available stuff. So normally we'll have a couple of bars or things, drone, first aid, camera gear, anything like that that we need to use very regularly will fit in here, and it has so much space for us to fit everything. So behind me here is some extra storage. This is where I keep the solar blanket, and it's always just sort of plugged into our battery just through here. That way, whenever I need to, all I need to do is pull it out, connect it up, put it in the sun, and we're charging our secondary battery.
So that's our van. We hope you enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you on the road.